quick ad. With Time Twist, you get exciting, bizarre, and significant historical events delivered to your phone every single day. Enjoying this episode? There's so much more in the app. You'll find the link in the show notes. Let's get started.
July 3rd. Just another date on the calendar. Well, maybe not. If you actually look closer, it's a single day where some pretty major things happen.
Yeah, quite a mix.
Yeah, like the first automobile kicking into life, but also an entire species just vanishing forever.
That contrast is something.
And then you've got technology hitting record speeds, ancient symbols finally going home.
Right.
We're doing a deep dive into July 3rd today. It's this fascinating intersection of, well, invention, loss, huge social shifts, moments of tragedy, but also amazing courage.
Sporting history, too. Legal changes.
Exactly. And the birthdays of some people who've really shaped things.
So what can looking at all these things crammed into one day actually tell us?
That's the question, isn't it? What does it reveal about, human progress, our connection to nature, the way societies change? Let's find out.
It's pretty remarkable how much can happen in just 24 hours when you stack it all up. Seeing these things side by side, it can spark some surprising connections, I think.
Okay, let's unpack some of this. Let's maybe start back in 1886.
Okay.
July 3rd that year. That's when Carl Benz officially showed off his patent motor wagon.
The birth of the car, essentially.
Right. I mean, think about it. The world ran on horses, mostly. And suddenly, here's this noisy, self-moving machine.
It must have seemed quite alien.
It wasn't just some gadget, though. It fundamentally changed how societies worked, how people lived, connected. Everything, really.
Absolutely. A huge leap in human ingenuity. But, it's interesting to think, was society ready for it? Did people instantly want one?
Probably not everywhere, right? I imagine there was a lot of skepticism, maybe even fear. Not like today, where we just accept cars.
Exactly. Adoption takes time, which brings us to a very different kind of event on July 3rd. But earlier, in 1844.
Yeah, this one's tough. This is generally seen as the day the great auk went extinct.
The last pair killed.
Yeah. Imagine a bird that was once abundant, just gone completely.
So you have this human innovation starting up, and at the same time, this irreversible loss from the natural world. It's a stark contrast.
It really makes you think about our footprint, doesn't it? Even back then.
It does. Did the auk's extinction immediately trigger, widespread environmental concern, or was it more of a slow burn?
I suspect slower. Early conservation was starting, but maybe not with the urgency we feel now.
Right. It often takes time for the consequences to really sink in, for societies to respond effectively.
Okay, let's jump forward. Nearly a century, actually. July 3rd, 1938.
Ah, the Mallard.
Yes, the British steam locomotive. It hit an incredible speed, 203 kilometers per hour.
Which is about 126 miles per hour, for context.
And amazingly, that's still the world record for a steam train.
It really is. A testament to the engineering of that time, pushing steam power to its absolute limit.
What allowed that? Was it streamlining?
Yeah, streamlining was key, plus improvements in boiler design, the whole mechanism. It shows how much you can refine even established tech.
Okay, another leap now. July 3rd, 1996.
A very different kind of event.
Completely. The stone of Scone, after 700 years in England,
700 years.
is finally returned to Scotland. It's just such a weight of history, of symbolism tied up in one object.
Immense. For Scottish identity, for national pride, that return was hugely significant. It shows how much power these symbolic objects can hold.
That physical link to the past.
Exactly. How it connects people across centuries.
Okay, shifting focus again. July 3rd, 1964. A truly massive day for social justice in the U.S.
The Civil Rights Act.
Signed into law by President Lyndon B. Johnson. This basically outlawed legal segregation. Restaurants, schools, buses. Legally, race couldn't be used to exclude people anymore.
A landmark piece of legislation, absolutely fundamental.
But it makes you wonder, right? The law changes. How quickly does society actually follow?
That's the crucial question. A legal victory is one thing, but implementing it, changing attitudes, that often takes much, much longer. There were still huge struggles after '64.
It's a process, not an event. And interestingly, just 2 years before that, July 3rd, 1962.
Ah, Jackie Robinson.
Exactly. Jackie Robinson was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame, the man who broke the color barrier in Major League Baseball.
His courage was incredible.
Beyond his athletic skill, which was immense, facing that hatred, it paved the way for so many, and not just in sports.
Definitely. His induction wasn't just about baseball. It recognized his huge social impact. You have to wonder how much his actions directly influenced the wider civil rights movement.
A powerful symbol. Okay, speaking of courage, different kind of situation. July 3rd, 1976.
Operation Entebbe?
Right. Israeli commandos flying thousands of miles into Uganda.
To rescue hostages from a hijacked plane.
The planning, the intelligence, the sheer nerve required.
Yeah.
It's almost hard to believe.
It really is. But it also highlights the really difficult decisions governments face with terrorism, with citizens in danger abroad.
And the fallout, right,
Hello?
politically.
Oh, absolutely. It sparked major debate about national sovereignty, using force across borders.
No.
Huge geopolitical ripples.
July 3rd also holds some really dark moments, sadly. 1988.
Iran Air Flight 655.
Yes. Mistakenly shot down by a U.S. Navy missile over the Persian Gulf. All 290 people on board were killed.
A terrible, terrible tragedy, a devastating error.
And it had huge international consequences, right? It led to a serious look at military protocols, rules of engagement.
Necessarily so. Events like that force a reevaluation to try and prevent recurrence. It underscores the human cost when things go wrong in high-tension situations.
And that wasn't the only air tragedy on this date over the years. July 3rd, 2001, a Russian plane crashed near Irkutsk, 145 dead.
And back in 1970, also July 3rd, a British jetliner near Barcelona, 112 lives lost.
These are just awful reminders of the risks, even as air travel gets safer overall.
They are. But these tragedies, as awful as they are, almost always drive safety improvements. Every crash is investigated so intensely.
Learning from loss.
Exactly. Changes in design, in air traffic control, in pilot training, they often come directly from understanding what went wrong.
Okay, let's shift tone a bit. To sport. July 3rd, 2004, Wimbledon.
Ah, yes, the upset.
A huge upset. A 17-year-old Maria Sharapova beats the reigning champion, Serena Williams.
Totally unexpected.
It really felt like, wow, a new force has arrived. A changing of the guard, almost.
It certainly announced her arrival on the biggest stage. What was it, do you think? Her game that day, or maybe Serena wasn't quite at her peak? These moments shift dynamics.
And then just 1 year later, July 3rd, 2005, Spain takes this major step.
Legalizing same-sex marriage.
Yes, a really significant moment for LGBTQ plus rights, not just in Spain, but globally. There was such celebration.
It reflected a growing shift, didn't it, towards more inclusivity. What were the key things that led Spain to do it then, do you know?
That's a good question. A combination of social movements, political will.
And it's certainly influenced debates in other countries considering similar laws.
Wimbledon crops up again. July 3rd, 2011.
Djokovic.
Novak Djokovic beats Rafael Nadal, wins his first Wimbledon title.
Which, looking back now...
Yeah, it wasn't just another win, was it? It really felt like the start of his era of dominance in men's tennis.
Definitely a launchpad moment for him against one of his biggest rivals. You could see something shift in that match, a new level of confidence, maybe.
July 3rd has also given us some fascinating, influential figures. Born on this day, 1883.
Franz Kafka.
Kafka. His writing. Alienation, bureaucracy, the absurd. It gave us the word Kafkaesque.
Which we still use all the time to describe those sorts of bewildering, illogical situations.
And the irony, right? He created these works that endure so powerfully, but he actually wanted them all destroyed after his death in 1924.
It's fascinating. Why did he want that? We can only speculate. But the fact that his friend Max Brod ignored him
Means we still have the Metamorphosis, the trial.
and their enduring power says a lot about how deeply they resonate despite his wishes.
And sticking with birthdays, July 3rd also gave us Tom Cruise, born 1962.
A global movie star for decades now. Huge cultural impact.
And Sebastian Vettel, born 1987, Formula One champion.
Right. And Vettel's interesting because he's increasingly used his platform, hasn't he, to talk about social issues, environmental causes.
Yeah, it shows how influence can be used in different ways. One, shaping popular culture, the other using his sporting fame for advocacy.
Two very different kinds of impact from the same birthday.
Okay, let's dip back much further in time. July 3rd, 1721.
Hans Egede.
Hans Egede set sail for Greenland. He was hoping to find these lost Norse colonies, weren't they?
That was the goal, yes. Find descendants of the Vikings who settled there centuries before.
He didn't find them, though.
No, they were long gone. But he encountered the Inuit people living there.
So, not the discovery he expected, but a really significant cultural encounter resulted.
Exactly. It shows how exploration can lead you down unexpected paths. The journey yielded something valuable, just not the intended thing.
A lesson in itself.
Yeah.
Okay, back to the 19th century. July 3rd, 1884. A bit dry maybe, but important.
The first Dow Jones stock average.
That's the one. The very beginning of tracking the stock market like we do now. What did it even track back then?
It was mostly industrial stocks, I think. Railroads were big. It was a simple way to try and get a handle on the overall market direction.
A foundational piece of our modern financial system, really. Started right there.
A way to quantify the buzz of the economy. It's evolved massively since then, of course.
Of course. And finally, one more crucial date, July 3rd, 1863.
The climax of Gettysburg.
The Battle of Gettysburg. The third and final day. Pickett's charge.
Generally seen as the high watermark of the Confederacy.
It was the bloodiest battle of the U.S. Civil War.
Yeah.
And really a decisive turning point. The scale of loss, but also the strategic importance. It's hard to overstate.
Absolutely. That Union victory on July 3rd had a massive impact on the war's outcome and, well, the future shape of the United States. A truly pivotal day.
So there we are, July 3rd, you've got the dawn of the car age.
The final silence of an extinct species.
Record-breaking speed on rails, ancient stones coming home.
Huge steps for civil rights. Acts of incredible rescue.
Terrible tragedies leading to, hopefully, learning.
Sporting upsets. Milestones for equality. The rise of legends.
The births of people who changed literature, film, sport. Plus, exploration, finance, conflict. It's quite something for one single date.
When you lay it all out like that, it really shows how tangled everything is. Progress, loss, social change, individual action, it all weaves together in unexpected ways.
Absolutely. History isn't neat, is it? It's this messy, complicated, interconnected story. So as you've listened to all this deep dive into just one day, what patterns or surprising links maybe jumped out at you?
Yeah, what connections did you see across these seemingly random events?
Definitely gives you food for thought about the forces shaping our world, past and present.
If you liked it, feel free to leave a rating and subscribe to the podcast.